What's up, Lorehounds? It's Cooper here with John Radoff, the CEO of Disruptor Beam. We're actually talking about Star Trek Timelines, which we first saw last year. You guys had just announced it. Super awesome. You got the whole universe to deal with. But we know you've made Game of Thrones Ascent. It's a very story-driven game. Obviously, you have a very story-driven universe with Star Trek.
Yep.
But how are you using what you've learned from Game of Thrones Ascent and then taking it off with Timelines?
Well, so Game of Thrones Ascent is a game that's really about the characters. It's what we call sworn swords, or what George R. R. Martin calls sworn swords. And that's your retinue of henchmen that work for you. It's the spies, it's the merchants, it's your fighters, and it's about using them to figure out how to gain power in Westeros. So the parallel in Star Trek Timelines is you have a crew. So in Star Trek, your crew might be good at science or diplomacy or combat or engineering, those disciplines that are really true to the Star Trek lore. And in a similar way, you'll be putting together groups of your crew to figure out how to solve different mission situations. So when you send them on an away team mission, for example, it's actually not just one crew. You're going to select a group of crew, and depending on the strengths of that crew, they'll be able to succeed in a mission or not. And a cool thing about it, where we've kind of taken it to the next step beyond Game of Thrones Ascent, is there can even be different mission outcomes. So if you send a bunch of combat characters into an away team, you might get a combat-based resolution, and that'll be different than, say, the diplomatic resolution, and it'll affect the narrative. But the big change, I think, is we want to really push the envelope in terms of the technological and graphical capabilities of mobile devices now. Mobile devices are at the point where they can deliver an almost console-like experience. So whether you're going to use a phone, an Android device, iPhone, iPad, web browser, one of the awesome things about Star Trek Timelines is how immersive it is with the 3D graphics. You can see your ship, you can try all different kinds of ships. You could be captain of the Enterprise D, you could use Klingon ship, you can actually see the planets, you can see Deep Space Nine. So just being able to really explore the whole galaxy is one of the awesome things in this game.
You know, putting on our tech hat really quick, how are you pulling that off? I mean, it's not like you're shipping a 40 gig game, right? Like, we got to be able to play this on our phone and stuff like that. How are you getting away with that?
Yeah, so from the tech side, we're using Unity 5, and that allows you to do pretty good stuff in terms of lighting systems and PBR and stuff like that lets you do really great looking models and environments and stuff. But you still have the problem, even with something like that, of big texture map sizes and stuff. So we had to develop a lot of systems around procedural generation of planet surfaces, because there's a whole galaxy's worth of content. You know, that's a lot of continents and cloud patterns and stuff like that.
Getting back into the actual timelines and the story and the lore, the mission sequence, as you said, is very branching, where you pick your away team and you go this way or that way. Is there any way, like, I play into that, or is it sheerly the RPG mechanic? Or do I get to choose by conversation?
Well, there's a couple of elements. So first of all, the conversation choices you make before going on a mission sort of sets the stage for the mission. So if you are talking to someone and you piss them off, they might want to fight you, and now you're stuck with a combat mission. Or if you choose a more diplomatic route in your conversation, you may end up with a mission that's going to test the diplomatic capabilities of your crew. So choosing your words carefully and which dialogue options you choose has a direct impact on the way missions play out. And then what happens is it's really about the strategy of which characters you choose. So just like almost like in a CCG, where a lot of the strategy is actually before the game was ever played, it's about putting your deck together. Here it's about choosing the characters that you're going to deploy into a mission, because their strengths and weaknesses are going to determine which things they are able to do best, and even which branches in the conflict resolution system they choose.
Sounds like a super complicated choose-your-own-adventure RPG.
I think under the hood it's complicated, but we've surfaced it in a way that's really friendly and easy to use, so you don't have to know anything about RPG games. We've designed this so that people who love Star Trek and this is the first game they ever play, you'll get it right away, because it's really just about choosing your crew, and you get feedback on what they're good at and bad at, and you see what they succeed and fail at, and you learn which crews can do different kinds of things.
Yeah, by all means. I totally meant by the game design aspect is that complicated, cool thing, when we were playing it, it's super easy to actually do and interact with. We were playing the iPad version. Unfortunately, can't show it to you quite yet. But let's talk about the sweet spot for an RPG, the loot. How are we progressing and moving forward as either a crew or our ship? They have their own separate leveling up, if you will, process.
Yep, every character levels up and goes through its own stages of advancement. I think we're still figuring out exactly the way we're going to tune that and what the traits are, but the basics is that every character has a set of traits, and that means they're really good at certain things and will gain certain bonuses in given mission situations. They also have stats, so there's a stat for combat, there's a stat for science, engineering, diplomacy. So there's 6 of these basic stats, so a lot of what you're doing is ranking them up, adding to those stats, adding to the traits that are associated with a character. The way you do that is by sending them off on missions. That's how they gain experience and level up. You're also gaining resources, equipment, knowledge, which you then can collect and apply to your crew and to your ship, and that helps you kind of develop things in kind of the more strategic direction over a longer period of time.
All right, John, so Star Trek timelines, obviously moving forward. We actually see it now. It wasn't here last year. We just kind of stood in the bridge of Enterprise. So what are we expecting? Like, when can we get our hands on this?
Later this year.
Okay.
Yep, and if you sign up for the Bridge Crew program, you'll be one of the first because we have a beta program. People can sign up.
And you're launching on which platforms?
iOS, Android, Kindle, PC, Mac, web browsers, yeah, everything.
The internet. He's launching on the internet.
Yep.
All right, John, I think there's only one way we should really sign off here.
Live long and prosper.